I know you've run into this. How do you record quiet speech and get a good voiceover recording level for your quiet speech, but then in your script, you have to do like yelling, you have to like project or exclaim something. Maybe you're doing some acting, right? How do you get a good level for the quiet stuff, but then you yell into the microphone for this line, the second louder line, it's distorted, right? And then vice versa. How do you get a good level for the loud speech, but then the quiet speech is too low and you're increasing your noise floor? And I know you've heard it in some movies and animation. It can be done. How do you accomplish this? Well, I'm going to show you exactly how the pros do it. My name is Lenny B. I'm a voiceover audio engineer. Let's make your voice sound better. Getting a good level when you're recording ultra dynamic voiceover is a challenge. Performances with large swings between loud and soft speech are challenging to capture with the proper recording level. And I immediately think of animation or people maybe doing video games, that type of animated dialogue where there is one sentence that's delivered like a whisper and it's right next to a sentence that requires you to yell at the top of your lungs. So if your recording level is set properly for capturing quieter passages, your loud speech will distort and sound horrible. And if your recording level is set properly to capture louder passages, your quiet speech will be captured too low, and that leads to other problems. Well, I'm going to show you how the pros accomplish this and illustrate how you can implement these techniques. All right, I'll give you a brief overview of why a proper voiceover recording level is so important. The proper recording level is going to give you the least amount of noise in the system. It optimizes the interaction with the effects, and we're talking about EQ and compression plugins and de-essers and things like that. It also gives you a massive leeway. It gives you space to work during the mixing process. And by that, I mean if you're mixing your voice together with other voices, or there's going to be music or sound effects behind what you're doing, that mixing process is ratios and you need space to work. So if you go into that with the proper recording level, you'll have a lot of space to make the moves that you need to make the mix and the ratio between those elements sound good. The proper recording level also standardizes your voiceover products. And that means, when you record something today and you've got your target recording level, a year from now, if a client comes back and they say, hey, I want you to work for me again, I've got a new script, or I want you just to modify that script you did last year, but just change a couple things, your recording level is going to standardize it so it sounds exactly the same as whatever you delivered last year. And the proper recording level also best prepares your file for mastering, which is the last step in the production process. And when we talk about mastering for voiceover, we mean reaching a particular loudness level for your voice recording. So if you're doing an audiobook, platforms like ACX, they want it at a particular loudness. It's measured in LUFS. LUFS, they call them, and it's an average loudness. So they want it here, and if you're sending something, let's say to YouTube, they want it at this measurement loudness. And if you're sending it to Spotify, and so on. Depends on the platform that you're going to be sending your audio to. Now, reading a peak meter to gauge your recording level, it's not like reading a gas gauge in an automobile. We may be tempted to think of it as empty versus full, but that's not really how it works. And to give you kind of a quick rundown, a proper recording level to best capture our speech would fall in this area. For capturing voice, I suggest setting the level as high as possible without peaking over -6. Now, this is a solid setting that captures the entire spectrum from loud to soft well. Now, I know that's not easy to do every time. You can't really anticipate how loud your speech is going to be. But I want you to understand what the right target is, what we're shooting for, because you could always fine-tune the gain and the level after you record. From day to day, the projection of your voice is different. Some days you're more tired, or some days you're really energetic, or you're really into the script that you're reading. So your projection, the power that you deliver is going to be different. So it's really important to understand that it's okay every day to just fine-tune the gain on your preamp or your audio interface, because you want to get as high as possible on the peak meter without peaking over -6. That is the absolute top. All right, now that you know how important it is to get a proper recording level, you can see how recording very dynamic content can be difficult. How do they capture such dynamic content and they never seem to have poor quality audio? Well, there are many ways to accomplish this, and I'm going to show you most of them. There may be some others, but I'm going to show you the ones that I know will work. I'll show you the ones I know don't work and that you should try to steer clear from. And then I'm going to show you the best way that I think you can do this. When I say best way, I mean to get the best quality. I'll start with restoration plugins. I think this is kind of the least attractive way to get this done. And I'm saying this as an audio engineer because, there's a professional way to do it that'll yield the best results, the best quality every time. This is kind of a fix. I recorded, it was too high, it distorted. I'm going to see if I can restore any of this audio. Yes, it can be done. You can use RX plugins, restoration plugins to correct overs or distorted peaks in your audio. It's not the optimal way, but plugins like iZotope's RX10 De Clip, they actually work surprisingly well in some cases. All right, here's another option. This one is probably the most attractive because you don't have to buy any extra equipment. You can do this now. I do this all the time if there are portions where I need to get really loud, or if I'm on location and I'm capturing audio or dialogue and there's something that happens where somebody's yelling. This is the strategy that I use. It's one of the most common options. However, it takes a little extra time and really can disturb your creative performance flow. And I'll show you what I mean. And what I'm talking about here is recording twice at 2 different levels. You accomplish this by setting your preamp gain first to achieve the proper level for your quiet sections. You go ahead and record that, and you ignore the bad level of your loud sections. Then you record your entire script or that section again after resetting your preamp gain to achieve a proper level for your loud section. So you ignore the insufficient or the really too low level for the quiet sections, but you want to make sure you capture those loud sections of your script. So there's actually another way where this kind of falls short. If you're performing and you're reading a script or you're acting or whatever you're doing, and that first take, which you have your recording level set to capture the quiet passage, but not the loud passage, if that first take is the best take, and you wish you could use that one, right? So it interrupts the creative flow. You got to stop down, reset the level, record again, and maybe that second take isn't as good as the first take. So that's where it falls short. Is that a big deal? I guess it depends on what you're doing. There is one question that comes up by using this method. You may ask, can overly loud distorted levels harm my equipment? Not really. You could harm the mic capsule if it's an extremely sensitive microphone, but most mics can handle a pretty loud SPL, which is sound pressure level. It's measured in something called SPL. Most people yell at an average of 82 decibels. The world record is 129 decibels, by the way. Most microphones handle an SPL rating greater than 130, so you really shouldn't worry about damaging your microphone. So next I'm going to show you how you can do this in a way that solves all the problems, but it has to be done properly. All right, here it is. The best way to do this is to split the microphone signal. This method takes advantage of multi-tracking to capture ultra-dynamic voice content. And you're probably having the same reaction that I had when I first heard about this. I'm like, I should have thought of that. That's brilliant. 2 separate tracks are captured from a single microphone source, but each track uses a completely independent recording level. For example, track 1 can be ideal for quiet speech, where the track 2 and the level could be ideal for loud speech. This leaves you with 2 tracks and twice as much footage, but the cool thing is you can capture one cohesive performance. I'll caution you, this has to be done a particular way because you want to accomplish this, split the mic signal without losing quality or causing other sound problems. Let me show you what I mean. It's common to think that we can do this with a simple, inexpensive cable splitter. Many of you are thinking about running right away to Amazon.com and grabbing, a Y cable, but beware. Using a simple Y cable like this, it may function, but it can open the door to potential phantom power issues and cause microphone impedance problems. You may notice a small change in your microphone's tone character or the transient response. Another problem you may run into is an increased noise floor. So how do we deal with this? One possible solution might be an active mic splitter. It's a low-gain mic preamp with multiple outputs, often more than necessary. An active mic splitter adds active electronics to your mic's signal path, and they're kind of costly. They can add noise and distortion to your signal. They're kind of often used for live broadcasts, like press conferences where one person speaks and they need to send multiple quality mic signals to a bunch of different cameras or audio recorders. Now, this is the Drummer Kickbox. It's a portable active mic splitter, but you can see it's got a ton of different outs that you would use, and it's expensive, and it's probably not the best choice. Now, a similar, even better approach is to use an additional external microphone preamp, and you split the line level signal output of the preamp to separate tracks on your interface. So using a Y cable to split a mic signal is not suggested, but it's okay to split a line level signal. This can be achieved with a simple Y cable. Now, some preamps, like this Grace Design M101, have two outputs that you can use built in. That's all well and good, Lenny B, but, an external preamp like the Grace M101 can be kind of expensive. It can do the job. It's going to sound great, but it's a little pricey. So I do have one other option that is going to yield fantastic quality results for your audio recording by splitting the mic signal, but it's a little more affordable. The next best solution might be a passive splitter like this one I have here. It's the Pro MS2 Balanced Mic Splitter by Radial Engineering. They're a company out of Canada. It uses a transformer to generate a second isolated mic level output. Sound quality is generally related to the quality of the transformer, and these transformers sound great. You can see it's got a pad, so if you're recording really loud content like a kick drum or a guitar cabinet or a bass guitar cabinet, you could pad the mic for really loud sources, but probably wouldn't use that for voice recording, depending upon the mic. It's got an input where you put your microphone, and then it splits it actually into three channels. So if you wanted to, if your audio interface can take three mic inputs, you could actually have three different gain level settings. It's got direct output 1, and then on the other side, it's got direct output 2, and then it's got an isolated output. So 3 outputs in this one unit. So this would be my first choice for a passive balanced mic splitter, and it sounds really good because of the quality of the transformers in this unit. But I think we should let's try it, right? Let's hear this in action for quiet and loud speech. Now, the audio you're hearing is my mic going to the Pro MS2 Balanced Mic Splitter. Now, from the splitter, I'm using 2 XLR mic level balanced cables out. Now, these two go into 2 separate channels in my interface, channels 1 and 2. Now, the first mic preamp gain is set to capture a good recording level for normal conversational speech, and that's captured on track 1 of my DAW. Now, the second mic preamp gain is set to capture a good recording level for louder, accentuated speech, and that's going to be captured on track 2 of my DAW. Now, I'm going to illustrate kind of a real-life type voiceover recording scenario so you can hear the quality of this mic splitter technique. Now, I'm going to record some dialogue that has some very contrasting speech, right? There's a lot of loud and quiet speech right next to each other. Now, you're going to notice my louder speech here will be coming from track 2, and the conversational speech is from track 1, and the audio captured at the undesirable level is going to be muted, so you're only really hearing one of the 2 tracks at any given time. Okay, here we go. It was his turn to place his name on the waiting list to be seated. Before he could eke out the words, "A party of 2 for dinner?" the host reprimanded Jonas. You've been warned never to show your face here again." Some of the other guests waiting to be seated quickly turned around to witness the commotion. "I'm sorry, I don't understand," Jonas said, feeling confused. "You've got some nerve, man. After what you did? Unbelievable," shouted the host as patrons held up their phones and began to record, anticipating more drama. What's interesting is that the difference isn't that big when you look at the recording level or, visually what you see in the 2 files, but it's enough to make sure that you don't ever peak, no matter what your presentation is if you're speaking loud. Now, if you're screaming at the top of your lungs, you're going to have to adjust the difference between the two gain settings further. But, that's why I wanted to illustrate this type of regular type of dynamic dialogue, something maybe more common that you'd run into, just so you could see how this works and how it sounds. This radial mic splitter is a great way for less than the price of a legit preamp, an external preamp, to get this done. I'm going to put a link to the Pro MS2 balanced mic splitter. I'll have a link to that unit in the description of this video. I want to clarify here that I'm not comparing this solution as an alternative or better or worse option than using a 32-bit float dynamic range to capture a very ultra-dynamic voice recording delivery. The 32-bit format only addresses how the audio is stored. It's the container. So even when using 32-bit float, other parts of your audio chain like your mic or your preamp can still clip your recording if they're not set correctly. If you want to take advantage of the 32-bit float format to capture ultra-dynamic voice recordings, the approach is slightly different. You would first ensure 100% that your loudest peak never goes over 0 dB. Then, even though your quiet recording appears much lower, 32-bit float allows you to use digital gain to raise the softer speech sections without losing any of the resolution. 32-bit float allows you to retain the dynamic range and resolution even after making substantial digital gain changes after you record. Now, this whole concept can go much deeper, and it's really outside the scope of this particular video, but I did want to address that if you were thinking, hey, what about 32-bit float? It works a little differently. This video was a long time coming because there's a lot of people, a lot of voiceover artists ask me that question. What's the best way to capture, soft and loud content right next to each other without distorting? And it's kind of been a mystery. So I hope this helped you. As a voiceover audio engineer, one of the things that I do is create custom processing presets. And I do this for people all over the world, doing all different types of voiceover recording. There's people that are doing audiobooks, or they're doing animation, or they're doing live announcements, or podcasters, or people that are gaming on Twitch, or YouTubers. Anybody who is using their voice to tell a story, to create content, you want to make the best, strongest connection you can with your audience, right? Well, one of the things that I do is help you make that stronger connection with great sounding voice recordings. I have a custom processing preset service that I offer, and you can go to my website. It's lennyb.com. And if you've seen some of my other videos, I walk through some of those custom settings and how I achieve the sound that I do. But you can see a bunch of examples, before and after examples on my website, lennyb.com. There's a red button at the top of the homepage, and it says submit your voice here. You send me your voice, you fill out a little form so I can get some information on your setup, your microphone, and your room treatment, the things that you're working with. And I will send back to you for free an example of what my custom processing, me processing your voice, will sound like with your mic in your room on your voice. It's a free thing that I offer. So go to my website. A lot of people maybe are a little apprehensive. They're like, I don't know if I should reach out to him. I'm not ready yet. But no, that's the perfect time for me to point some things out. Say, oh, you need to fix this, or no, this sounds great. A lot of people are apprehensive about their mic. They're like, I'm going to save up and get this mic and it's going to be better. I can tell you, hey, this mic you're ready for prime time. Don't use this. Don't use your mic as an excuse. You're ready to go. I could tell you those things from a third party perspective, right? I've got a studio that's treated, and I'm listening in balanced monitors in a balanced room, and I can tell you that your recording quality is up to par or not, and give you some suggestions. Or you can just hear simply what my processing sounds like with your voice. Again, it's free to do. Go to my website, lennyb.com, to get all the information. I'll also tell you that I offer training courses. If you are the type of person that wants to figure this stuff out themselves, you want to learn how to EQ voice, you want to learn how to use an EQ software or a hardware EQ, I have a training course that shows EQ. It's not just EQ, it's EQ for voiceover. You may want to check that out. That's my most popular course. But I've got training courses on workflow, meaning from recording all the way to mastering. What order do you do these things in? I've got a training course on recording levels. I've got a training course on acoustic treatment for voiceover if you want to figure out the best way to treat your room so it sounds fantastic. Room treatment is usually the most important thing when it comes to recording a voice. If you've got a poor room or you've got reflections in your room, it's going to be tough to get a good sound, a good recording sound for your voiceover. But I show you what to listen for, what may be wrong, and then how to fix it. And I've also got a course about mastering. Lots of stuff up there for you if you're interested in learning more and raising your game as a voiceover artist. That's what I do. I've also got free tips and techniques on my website. The blog is actually really good. Just a lot of good information. And I'll tell you that the information that I put out on YouTube and the information that I share and the things that I teach are questions that people bring to me. So if you've got a question, don't be shy. Let me know in the comment section of this video. It may just turn out to be the next video that I do, or I may just give you my best explanation and help you get to that next level. My name is Lenny B, voiceover audio engineer. Thanks so much for watching.